G'day, guys, and welcome back to another week of Australian Survivor Blood vs. Water. It is week 4, and what an epic week. We saw some big twists thrown into the game, some huge players leaving as well. And here to join me to discuss it all this week is Robin.
Just
Robin,
me.
very sad to see Nina gone.
I don't know if I'm allowed to play music, but I'll stop there. I'm sure that's enough. Yeah, I'm going to have a commiseration cider because my girl Nina did not make it to the end.
Yeah, well, I didn't get the memo about the cider, but that's
Oh,
all
sorry,
good.
sorry.
I did. I will admit, I was very disappointed by Nina going home. Very, very sad to see her go this early in the game. But
Oh,
we'll obviously discuss her downfall later. But can I just say, Nina, what a great castaway, and I really hope we get to see more of her, either on Australian Survivor or US Survivor in the future.
100%. I was really happy when Jonathan was like, "Hey, look, it's sad to see you go, but this won't be the last we see of you." So that made me feel like hopefully, if we're lucky, we'll have her back gracing our screens again. Because I kind of want to adopt her. I think why not? Let's bring the princess down to us.
Yeah,
I loved her.
I think
I'm so shattered.
Yeah, she has definitely become an honorary Australian survivor now. And it would be interesting to see if they ever do an Australia versus US season where she would fit in, because I think Australian Survivor will claim her at this point. We were the ones that obviously gave her time of day. Nina, Dan Gann here in the chat saying, Nina was robbed. Just know I will never forgive you, Muddy Puddle. The Muddy Puddle in the challenge, of course. It took me a while there, but yeah, Australian Survivor challenges. Obviously, I think this is second medical evacuation, third actually. Sorry, because Chelsea was medically evacuated last season. She lost.
Do you call Roscoe? Roscoe's foot break?
Ross Clark-Jones in that challenge. He was the first medevac, I believe, in Australian Survivor. Obviously, that was very unfortunate. Similar thing happening here. Obviously, the brutal challenges, just not the Americans aren't strong enough for us Aussies. Obviously, it seems it didn't quite work out for them.
Whoa.
Russell Hands, Sandra Diaz, Twine, and Nina all going pre-merge.
I did not expect
they'll probably have to bring some. They'll have to bring some stronger competitors next time. Jenny K, welcome to the chat. JLP has formally asked her back. He has never said that when someone exited a season before. That's right. Yeah, it will be great to see Nina come back in the future. Fingers crossed we do see her. Schmong as well in the chat. You're going to have to tell me how to pronounce your name, because last week I was having troubles with it. I was so sad when Nina left. She was one of my favorites, and yeah, definitely one of our favorites as well. Marcus Evans in the chat as well. Welcome back, Marcus. Nina went out on all things a slip and slide challenge.
It's an Aussie thing.
She did.
It's an Aussie thing, the old slip and slide. The Americans aren't up for it. So, that's what you got to do. We've got a lot of slip and slides in our challenges. So get on it, Americans. We need you.
Yeah, and we might as well just jump right into it. This reward challenge, a very interesting take on the reward challenge. Obviously, they wanted this, cross-tribal alliances to form.
I know, that was great. I love that.
To meet 4 teams, each team split into 2. It was a bit confusing for me watching it. I was very confused. It took me a while to actually get the format around my head. The red tribe and the pink tribe, the light blue tribe and the blue tribe. The buffs looked very similar, but that's beside the point. An interesting way to approach a challenge. What did you think about that, Robin, having 4 teams and potential for split tribes there?
I loved it. I don't think we've seen that before ever. I really love that concept, because unfortunately, it's like one of those same things with champions versus contenders. They really wanted 3. They wanted to go 1, 2. They wanted champions to win. They wanted contenders to win. They wanted the third one. This was kind of one of those smaller things. They really wanted to have a light blue and a pink win, or like they wanted a crossover. Unfortunately, it just didn't happen. But I really love that concept. I think it should come back, and a nice way to kind of split the tribes and make a bit of division and get some communication going across lines. Really good.
Yeah, I think it is an interesting concept, and I almost feel like in a normal Australian Survivor season without the blood versus water dynamic, it would be really interesting to have, potentially in a pre-merge situation. We did see Shay was kidnapped at one point to come to the other tribe in a reward. I do think it does create interesting dynamics. At this stage, it's probably not as exciting, given we've already seen a lot of these players come together. But obviously, with the aftermath of a lot of blindsides, Khan especially, that would have been very interesting if Khan had gone in to the Red Tribe and really seeing blood over Amy's elimination. I was surprised we didn't see too much of Khan's fury this episode, because it really did seem like he would be very upset.
Yeah, but what can you do? Like, what can you do in that situation? It's like you're on the other tribe. You've just got to roll with the punches. So, I know they hyped it up. They hyped it up in the ads. Khan's fury. Will Khan get his revenge? It's not. When you're on separate tribes, you can't. It's such a weird marketing tactic that they always seem to do. It's not possible. You can't get the revenge. You might get it down the track. So, I think he played it well. I think he was just, whatever. I got to keep moving on. It's sad, but I'm going to keep playing.
I've been very impressed by Khan this week, especially. He has really come into his own. As you say, we didn't quite see his fury. Still waiting on Sue's big move from season 1 as well. Hopefully that'll come eventually. Maybe it'll be a big move to blindside Nina or something like that in the future on fans versus favorites or something like that. But certainly, with Khan, he's had a big week, I think. And if I was to say, just an early call, we will discuss this towards the end of the podcast in terms of who played the best this week. But for Khan, holding on to his idol at this point in the game, I was really concerned for him. And we did discuss this with Simon last week. When is the right time to play your idol, especially headed into the merge at this point and everyone knowing where your idol stands. Khan he's got a really strong grasp on all the social relationships at this point. And while people have put his name out there, still he's still got this idol in his pocket.
Yeah, he is really doing an amazing job with a public idol. And it just goes to show two things. So the first thing is his social game is just really nice. But the other is Australian Survivor is a different beast still. It's not American Survivor. In American Survivor, that won't fly. I couldn't see that flying as long as it has. Here, those relationships are really important. And we see that definitely in Tuesday night's episode. Those relationships, the loyalty, that thing that we still had from our first remake when we came back for season 3, but I call season 1 of Australian Survivor. That's still there. That's that loyalty thing. We can't, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, we can't seem to shake it.
Yeah, and it is an interesting point you bring up there with the loyalty, because I think the loyalty was actually betrayed this week, and that was really the precipice of a lot of this week, obviously with Chrissy, Croc, and Benny, this feud that happened here. We will discuss that, because I'm very interested to see what you think about Benny's revenge arc, because I'm not sure that Croc was the right person to get rid of, especially when Croc didn't fight with him. But we will talk about that.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Jenny K, a fun fact here, after the first 2 eliminations, the next 7 people voted off are all from the original Blood Tribe, excluding Alex's quit and Nina's medevac, which I haven't really noticed. And I don't know if that's because everyone is, in this blood versus water dynamic, the tribal lines aren't too strong. But I'm going to bring up the confessional chart here, because it's what I've got for...
Oh, God. Here we go again.
It's what I've got showing the original tribes. And yeah, that's right. I think, what is it? Kate, Alex quit. Then it was Jay, Sandra, Sophie from the original Blood Tribe, Amy, Nina was medevaced, Croc, and Ben. Yeah, it's a very interesting, almost Pagongian at this point, but unintentional, obviously. And now it looks like Sam, Jesse, David, Jordan, and Michelle, only 5 members remaining from the original Blood Tribe.
And Dave, out of all of that.
Yeah, and Dave's still standing
still there.
somehow.
He's still
we haven't seen Dave in a while.
But he's done. He's thrown his grenades.
He's managing to hold on at this point. It's amazing, because I think after the first week we said who will be the next to go other than Dave. We were expecting him to go basically in the 4th episode or 5th episode.
We did say though, if he doesn't go,
he's still standing.
He's going deep. He'll go deep if he doesn't go, and
that's right.
He's pointless.
He's certainly become someone that has stuck around for a long time, and it doesn't look like he is going anywhere. Jenny K as well, bringing up here. Mel has gone 12 episodes with 0 confessionals, still insane. Fire the editors. And Jenny, stick around, because I'm going to go on a big rant toward the end of this podcast. I really do want justice for Mel and Michelle at this point, because we haven't seen much of them at all this season. It seems like they are playing some role in the strategy, and I'm not sure what it is. Maybe they're not giving entertaining enough confessionals. Maybe they're not as important to the story arc. But gosh, Robin, I really want to see something from Mel and Michelle, especially after this
It's
last episode as well.
Yeah, it's a shame. Well, I guess there's a couple of things in this last 3 episodes that kind of hint towards a Mel and Michelle. They actually know the game of Survivor.
Mm,
Like a lot of people were going a bit crazy with the KJ vote that Mel threw out there. I think that's someone who goes, maybe there's a twist coming up. I'm doing this as a precaution on the what ifs. I think, and then we see the fire challenge. They've got something to tell, and they've obviously cast them for a reason. Aside from the fact they're identical twins is cool, but I
yeah.
mean, you're, it's really, yeah. You'll get into your rant. We don't want to pre-rant.
Yeah, that's right. And Marcus as well, he says, can we talk about the promo from this week, spoiling 3 big players will go and showing Nina,
Mhm.
Croc, Mark, Khan, and Chrissy. Obviously, 2 of those big players went in terms of Nina and Croc. The third big player, who would that be? Would it be Benny, or would
Ben,
it be, who was the other one to go home this week? It was,
Ben, it's just Ben.
oh, it was just Ben. Only 3 went
Yeah,
home.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, because there was the KJ tribe swap there. Yeah, you're right.
yeah.
And
Because
obviously they had
of the Nina.
the Mel fire making. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben being the third big player this week. Yeah, the the promos are always really hard to grasp your head around. We did say before, Sue's big move. Obviously this week, 3 big players going home. I
And
really don't
I
like.
still don't
I
call
really don't
Croc
like
a big
it.
player. I don't call him a big player. He's a great character. He's a great cast player. He really is a great member of this season. But he's not a big player to me. He really isn't. And he proved that to me this week.
Yeah,
He
I I would almost say the opposite, because what we've seen with Croc, obviously, we didn't see too much of him, not as much as I would have liked to have seen. Especially as someone who was a fan of Croc from his days in rugby league, I was really keen to see how
yeah.
he won in this season, especially as a super fan as well.
Mm,
From what I understand, he's a big fan of the show. We didn't see too much of him in terms of confessionals. It's more so been from Chrissy's side of the fence. But certainly, I think we will be seeing a lot more of Croc, or at least the aftermath of Croc, over these coming weeks, especially as we enter the merge, because Chrissy really does seem like a woman scorned after that blindside.
yeah. But backing up, what makes you say he's a big game player?
Not so much a big game player, but a big player in the game. He's obviously a
Okay.
crucial piece of the
Yeah.
pie, and I think he's one of the big players in terms of his other half in Chrissy in the game. Obviously, I think she is really going to go on this big revenge cycle, which is what we're seeing
Yeah.
in this next cycle of
Yeah.
promos this week. We won't focus too much on the promos though. We'll definitely talk about what
The show.
was what was shown on the show. And we'll go back in chronological order here. Obviously, we mentioned that Nina getting injured in the challenge. They went off on reward. Nina was taken away for medical assessment. Unfortunately, when it came for the immunity challenge, though, she returned on crutches, and it was time for her to go from the game. Really, really sad to see Nina go. Robin, you obviously shed some tears for that.
I did.
In the immunity challenge, though, we did see Josh help the Blood Tribe to win immunity. And also an advantage was up for grabs at this immunity challenge as well. The loss of Nina, obviously massive for the tribe. How much do you think it would have affected the morale around camp?
I think the way she went out, is the morale hit. Losing someone, that's the game. You're going to lose someone. But the way she went out, she was a well-loved person. Definitely a big threat. Definitely someone I'd be wanting to get out of the game. But I think it's just the way, it's devastating when someone who is so well-loved goes down, and then it's foot injuries are a long time to heal.
Mm.
It's not a fun thing. It just sucks. And they got lucky. Was it Khan was not able to deliver knocking down the targets, and
Yeah.
Bloods got back in the game, which they did it for Nina, but they got really lucky to get that immunity, which is nice. It's a nice bit of for Nina, but in the grand scheme of things, look, I feel like it's going to hurt them, but they'll just keep moving. The game doesn't slow down for that. There'll be a little bit of grief, and that's it. Move on.
Yeah. And on Nina, I'm honestly shocked, because she's obviously, outside of Sandra, she really was the biggest threat in the game. Well, Khan as well, who's obviously a big threat, but Nina came in with a target painted on her back. I must say she obviously did a brilliant job in terms of forming those social relationships because everyone seemed to love her. Her name never came up once. It's just amazing. I do have to give Nina props for the game she played with the target
Yeah.
she came into the game with. She was able to work her way in, obviously with Mark on that water tribe early on, switched tribes later, voted out her mum, and really ingratiated herself well with basically everyone. Her name never really came up as an option. I really do have to give her props. She played such a great game, and I do think had she stayed in the game, you obviously had your pencil on her for final tribal
Oh
council.
yeah.
I do think she was on track to go very deep in the game. Really, it did look like she had the potential to be one of those people that really just easily make it through to the final 8 or final 6 and have
Yeah,
that
she's
opportunity
really great.
to go for the end game.
Everything about her game is just like she's got that perfect survivor player element where she's got a great social game and she's got that strategic mindset from her mum. She's grown up with survivor, but that other element is come merge, she's in this really awesome position where she's good at challenges, she's not great at challenges. She's active, fit, and she contributes, you know, but she's no way in hell going to compete against Shay
Mm,
or the blokes, the big blokes who like the Benny, all these people. So she gets this, she's in the really beautiful sweet spot, you know. You don't want to be too good, you don't want to be too shitty. And Nina is just right. In my opinion, she's possibly one of, unfortunately, going out medically, the most enjoyable person I've seen play as an all-rounder in a long time. For me
yeah,
personally, I thought she was great.
I would put Haley above her in terms of just an
Oh, I
all-rounder.
love
Last
Haley.
season,
I
I
am.
loved Haley last season, but
I
Nina
did, but she did
certainly.
get voted out. Haley got voted out and saved by a twist.
That's another season. But no, with Nina, I think she has played a great game, and yeah, certainly, as we said before, someone I would love to see come back in the future. And I do think if she was to return, she would have a good shot at winning. Maybe not in US Survivor, but Australian Survivor, I could see her
Mhm.
winning. The only mark against her, I think, would be if she made Final Tribal Council and there was another Aussie against her. I do think they would vote for the Aussie at the end of the day.
Unfortunately, I
But
agree.
what a great player. She really does almost seem like a Saree Fields to me. In that she's such a strong social player. Obviously, like her mother,
Mhm.
she's from the same cloth as her mother. But such a strong player. I can't ever see her winning, whether that be on US Survivor or Australian Survivor. But oh, what a delight it has been to have Sandra and Nina on this season. It really has made it
Yeah,
all the more enjoyable, I think.
yeah, it is for those diehard fans like ourselves who've been around. Like I've been watching this since I was 12 years old. To have a
Mm,
Sandra come in with her daughter, you know, I got excited with Russell and then highly disappointed with Russell. I didn't believe he was a champion. He should never have come on as a champion. But I got excited because I do love a bit of Russell madness. You give me a classic American player on our game, I really am. Like, I would love to see a Boston Rob. I'd love to see a Rupert. I'd love to see a Sari. Oh my god, there's so many characters from the American season that I would love to come in and just, even if it is a cash grab for them, I don't care. It's just nice. It's nice for us. Bit of nostalgia for us to kick on back to those old seasons, the golden days of Survivor.
mm. Yeah, no, it's certainly what was great to have Sandra and Nina on the show, even if it was a short term sugar hit.
Mm,
And I really think it has accelerated the pace of the game as well. This season, everyone is playing, and one of those big players in the first episode of this week, really, and throughout the whole week, was Jesse, who immediately began to gun for Ben. He wanted Ben out of the game, believing
mm.
Ben to be a big threat going into the merge. Jesse making a big move here, and it was a pretty good one because it almost paid off.
Yeah, it almost paid off, but this goes back to that same thing. What understanding the format, understanding Nina's just been taken out, understanding that all of a sudden there comes this strange reward into an immunity challenge. Something is
Mm,
up. Something is up. And I don't, you know what? I'm liking Jesse and I'm really liking Geordie is now like, I didn't give Geordie enough credit for his Sandra move and I still won't. But Geordie is real. That move has instigated a really great sort of player coming out of Geordie. He's
yeah,
still making a couple of mistakes in my eyes, but Jesse come in and wanting to make that big move on Ben. Great idea. I just think his timing was a little bit off. Like, perfect idea. Got everyone on board. Made sense. The
yeah.
Nina the Nina twist really hurt Jesse there.
Yeah, and it did when I first saw the advantage come up at the challenge. I almost cringed because I knew straight away we're going to have this non-elimination twist. Something
Yeah.
is going to happen here, and
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. I am surprised that Jesse didn't think that through. Sam is especially as well, being a former player.
Mm-hmm.
She
And
didn't actually
also
get to that point in the game, but
but she
I would have
also was
thought that
part of the last
she would think it
twist.
through. Yep.
She was part of the last twist with Sophie. She's experienced a twist. Like she
Mm-hmm.
was in the last one. She got screwed over from the last one. But that said, did it hurt Jesse in the long run? Moving forward, it doesn't hurt Jesse at all. It actually strengthens Jesse.
Yeah.
I've always said, and my mate Jack and I, we used to always say, it's always good to take these moves and make the mistakes. Early on, pre-merge, you need to make, and it wasn't a massive mistake. Like it really wasn't, but it just was just off because of the potential of Nina taking the eliminated spot and understanding how the format needs to run for X amount of days. Something's going to happen either this tribal or next tribal. And when you see that reward come up, but then what do you do? What do you do in that situation? You can't.
Yeah, I almost feel like, and it's hard to say if you were in that position, obviously, because you don't know what's going on in the game. You don't know what that advantage could be as well. That advantage, they could get to tribal council, and it could be maybe they reveal it and then they have to vote out a second member. You really don't know. But you're right. I would be thinking to play conservatively, maybe get rid of someone like KJ, someone that's not going to upset too many people. And that's ultimately what happened because Ben was voted out, but then it was revealed at Tribal Council that the Blood Tribe had the opportunity to pick one of either Ben, KJ, and Khan as the 3 vote getters to come to their tribe. KJ ultimately becomes the sacrificial lamb that joins the other tribe. But you're right. You would, especially at this point in the game, we've thought about this many times with all these non-elimination twists throughout the history of the show. You need to be vigilant of what's going on. You need to, be wary of what can happen at any stage, because I think it is almost a good idea in Australian Survivor. While people play with a short-term memory, you should be thinking about how many players are left in the game, what day is it, how close are we to merge. I think for an Australian Survivor player going onto the show, and this might reveal a little bit of my strategy here and my way of thinking, I've come to notice every Sunday, every third tribal council cycle, there's always a big twist. So you've always got to remain vigilant of that. And obviously, as you said, when JLP revealed that little twist at the challenge, you should be thinking, okay, something's up here. We need to play carefully. But as you said, it didn't hurt Jesse in the long run, because Benny was absolutely scorned by this last vote. He was mainly upset by Chrissy, but Croc was his target in the next episode because he thought Croc betrayed him, but Croc actually voted with Benny for Khan. So it was very interesting to me that he would go to Jesse. There's obviously something that was missing in the edit at this point, because we certainly didn't see it, but Jesse all of a sudden became the man that Benny came running to.
Yeah, that was interesting. It's unless Croc hasn't really communicated the exact going on, because right from the start, we as an audience, us as the fan base, are seeing Croc not happy with this vote. He's not going to be happy, but he will go to the other one in case of an idle play. But he doesn't come to Ben, and maybe Benny's upset because he doesn't come to him and say that he's getting voted out. Maybe Croc is thinking there is a twist coming up. Maybe that was his thought process, that it's probably inconsequential. I don't know. It's a bit of a strange Ben. I don't know if there's a couple of moves in that next episode that I don't like. I don't agree on Croc's move, and I don't agree on Ben's move, and they both have gone because of those moves that they've followed on with.
Yeah, and obviously Croc pointing the target towards. He points target towards Jesse, doesn't he? After Blood with immunity, obviously Water going to Tribal Council. Croc points the target toward Jesse. He tells Benny about that, but then immediately Benny goes back to Jesse and Sam. Yeah, it's for Benny. I think it's a good move. Great move for Benny.
Ultimately,
but then again,
not,
you're right. Ultimately not. But it did keep him safe for at least one more vote. But he was in a tough position here. But I do wonder, was it the wrong move to go with, to flip on Croc vote out your closest ally who has not betrayed you at all in the game. And
Yeah.
really, you pissed off Chrissy in the process as well.
There's a couple of things about it. So you know what? I don't mind Benny's thinking. Benny goes off and he does this, and Ben is target number one. And we know if you are target number one, and I think I was a bit annoyed at Parvati and Winners at War for this same thing, or Boston Rob. I can't remember who I was annoyed at, but if your name's out there, if you can remove your name from the table, that's genius. Ben has taken his name off the chopping block. Jesse is already on, and now Croc has replaced Ben. So it's now between these two. So I don't mind it to a degree. It just the way he's gone about it hasn't really built his relationships back it up, and obviously ultimately leaves him to his downfall the next episode, regardless, because of the backstab on Croc. Croc had his back, and this is the thing that I would have loved to have seen from Croc. Out of everything, I get Croc wants to save Ben, totally do, and we see that he sits there and he goes, "I really like Ben. I don't want to get rid of him." And then that's the emotional side of Croc, going, "I like this guy. I want to play with him." He's not talking strategically. He's talking, "I like him." Then he goes and has a go at Chrissy for saying, "Don't play with your heart, play with your head." Flips it around. He's got an idol, and to me, Australian Survivor across the board out, and Mark says it the very next episode, you don't bring a knife to a gunfight, you bring a tank, and this is my tank. So it's like, it's defense. This is a perfect time for Mark to go, or for Croc to go, they want Benny gone. I don't want Benny gone. I'm going to let them do that thing. I won't tell Benny. I'll just save Benny. And I will vote out Jesse. Game over. Big play. Blindside everyone. Now everyone's going to have a bit of a backstep because that was a huge move, and they're going to be a little bit afraid. And then ultimately, for some reason, when someone takes a power seat, even though Croc gives up his power, you do see people want to side with him for a little bit. He's now locked in Ben's loyalty for however long, and then maybe someone else who was on the ep with he still gets Chrissy. I just think sometimes saying stuff when you've got the key. You had the key. You could have sorted this out. Who knows how long it would have lasted, but he would have lasted longer than he did.
Yeah, and I would be interested. Hopefully, we can talk to Croc and Chrissy at some point in the postseason for a post-game retrospective. But yeah, I would love to hear Croc's logic behind that move, throwing out Jesse's name. And yeah, where he did stand with Benny, because I was a little bit confused as to where this Croc betrayal came all of a sudden. It almost seemed like Benny wanted to lash out more so at Chrissy, even though he still had Croc's trust.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you say, it ultimately wasn't the right move on Benny's part, because it does go in the next episode. He salvaged himself for one vote. But really, for Benny, such a big game player, putting his neck on the line. Yeah, just a faux pas to knock back his biggest ally in the game, and ultimately end up on an island all on his own, with really only Shay in the game, who's on the other tribe, as the only other person
on the
you
bottom.
can work with.
Shay, if we didn't go to merge next week, Shay's on the chopping block, and if they can't get rid of her, they want to get rid of her. They don't want them together. So he doesn't have much room to go with, and that comes down to, he's a good challenge beast. There is that element of, he's really he seems to have that aggressive sore loser element to him that can rub people the wrong way. And now he's complaining about food. He's putting a couple of ticks on his name that go, we don't want to spend more time with you. And then just seems to misread. Everyone wants me gone, so I'm going to go and tell everybody the only person who wants me to stay is flipping on me. It's it's just a misread. There was something else Ben could have done. I don't know.
Yeah, and I always struggle with Australian Survivor and trying to read between the lines in Australian Survivor, especially compared to US and South Africa, because it always seems like there's storylines missing, and we're getting a very different storyline to what may have actually happened on the island.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's always hard to tell the stories of 15 different players in the game, and they obviously find it hard to show confessionals for all 24 castaways and not giving anyone a confessional, once in 12 episodes.
They're really good at it.
But
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course they are. Of course they are. They're, really giving a strong edit for Mel and Michelle and Jordan and Josh and David at this point. They're
Yeah.
getting so much content. We're seeing so much of them, getting to know them. But no, it really is hard to understand what someone is thinking, where a certain vote is coming from, what everyone's rationale is behind things, when we're only getting really one storyline from one person in the game. It's always hard to tell.
Yeah.
On the other tribe, though, on the Blood tribe, Mark does find the idol at his camp. Obviously, he found the clue at the reward challenge. He goes searching for it, finds the idol, and Geordie is the one who spots him searching. This is a major faux pas, Robin, and I sense you're about to burst, because Mark says, and I will I'll say this. He says, okay, I kind of feel like I've got to let him in on this secret now. I know it's a bad move, but I quote, Geordie is not a super malicious player. Robin, you mentioned earlier, Geordie was one of the main people who lobbied to get rid of Sandra in the game. In my mind, Geordie is a super malicious player, and Geordie was rubbing his hands together after finding out that Mark has an idol.
There's so much about this. There's so much about this. And even the fact that Mark calls him a loose end. Like, there's just like okay, so firstly, let's just talk about that reward. This is my down, like this is Mark's worst moments so far to me. I think this was just a big stuff up for him. He sees the clue, and then we get excited. And we've got to get it right now while everything's going on. What you do is you spot the clue, you let it sit there, and at the end, or when people go away, you grab it when no one's around, not when everyone, because people will see, why did he get up and move? They're going to notice you moving to sit down. You could have put your shoes on where you were. Like, it's a weird thing to think that this is potentially going to be when no one is going to see me. Just watch it. Just watch it from afar. Keep your eye on it. If someone else grabs it, great, you have information. Information is infinitely more power than the idol itself, as we're seeing with Geordie coming in and knowing this. Just why did he go so fast for it? It just...
Yeah. It is a hard one, and you never really know when is the right time. When is no one looking. It's always hard.
It is.
He did hold on for about 5 days before he went searching for the idol after finding that clue at the reward challenge. But yeah, you're right. I think Mark's main faux pas though in that case was sharing the idol with Geordie. I think it's.
But what do you do?
It's hard.
Geordie's come in, but I also don't think Geordie should have gone. Geordie's come at it to go, I need to know about the idol. Geordie should have kept that information, kept watching, and use that to get rid of Mark. Not use it to kind of come closer to Mark, but he could have really used that information a little differently. I don't think he should have come in the way he did and now gone buddy, even though he knows and now he can use it. He probably will use it against him at one point in time. But the fact is, he, at the moment, as far as we know, he's the only one that knows about it. Mark can, if I'm Mark, I've told him, just between us, next vote, you're gone, mate. You are gone. Next vote. 100%. I'm getting rid of Geordie straight away. He called him a loose end. Done. Chop him. He's done for me.
Yeah, that's right. And as he said, it is a tank, not a not a knife in a gunfight. And yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how Geordie and Jesse, especially two players with big targets. And I'm loving Geordie and Jesse at this stage
me too.
in the game. This was
a good week for them.
They've been amazing. Two really entertaining guys who just seem to be having a lot of fun out there. And I think that's something I will say for this cast especially. It's the same with every season, but this cast, everyone seems to be having so much fun out there. Geordie and Jesse, Khan is having so much fun. Sam and Mark, Chrissy. It's the opportunity of a lifetime for them all. And I really like seeing players who are having a lot of fun, making big moves, really excited to be there. And yeah, for a lot of these players, I don't think they care if they go, first or make it all the way to the end, because I think it was in Croc's exit interview. He said, I'm just really grateful to have had the opportunity to play this great game, especially with my sister-in-law as well. It's obviously great opportunity for them all. And yeah, Geordie and Jesse this week. If we were giving out MVPs for this week, I would say Geordie and Jesse, both of them deserve
Yeah.
accolades, and Khan as well, as
Yeah.
we mentioned, has had a good week.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like everything, and even when it came, you know what, that individual immunity where we do see Geordie just go, like he put up a good fight for someone who shouldn't put up this fight he did, physically compared to Shay, but he just put in. And you know what? If Ben didn't go to take Khan down, Khan would have stayed there for himself. Like, I don't know if you saw it. He was about to say to JLP, "Can I just stay up here?" until he got taken off. I love that. I really loved. He's like, I'll give you the immunity. I'm just doing it for myself. I want to see if I can last an hour. I want to be one of those people.
Yeah.
It's great. Like, yes, you're putting yourself through hell, but it's fun doing. You don't get to. God, like, for you and I, we would dream of that. We do dream of that. So I'm so happy that they're enjoying it. They're getting a chance to really have fun out there, even in the squalor. So yeah, those three did really well this week in the grand scheme of things, and they're having fun, and they're playing the game, and the game is exciting. And I don't think I can move things across with you, but like Ben was saying about how hard it is to follow, like it's true. We don't actually get the same strategic elements that the American breakdown gives us. So it does become a little bit hard to know. We're not actually seeing too much alliance chat. But at the same time, I don't think it impacts it a large amount. I get the gist. You kind of get the gist through tribals, but we're not seeing the hard alliance swapping and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I think on the alliances, it is very hard to follow this season, especially. We've got identical twins. We've got Geordie and Jesse, who are basically identical brothers. Josh and Jordan, who I couldn't tell you the difference. Josh is a pilot and Jordan is a rugby player, right? That's all I know about them because we haven't had any confessionals.
Too many J's.
Yeah,
too many J's on this time round.
Yeah, way too many J's. It has been hard to follow at times. I do want to bring it back and discuss his individual immunity challenge. Jonathan here saying, Khan almost pulled a Jane from Nicaragua. Nicaragua, I don't know if you know this, Robin, it's one of my favorite seasons of all time. Fabio is my favorite player.
No, of course, why?
Jane dug deep wanting to beat Fabio in that challenge in Nicaragua, of course. But yeah, so we have Shay, who obviously outlasts Geordie. And the key battle we have here is Khan and Sam. They strike a deal. Khan, as you said, just wants to last an hour on that challenge. Basically gives the individual immunity necklace to Sam. Very interesting, and we will discuss this, but I do want to say, Sam, what an effort she put in that challenge. Seized up, obviously, and then fainted. Really, really scary. I think I saw Geordie say that it was one of the scariest days of his entire life. Obviously seeing Sam on the ground there, completely out of it, it does show the toll it takes on you, and especially being out there in Charters Towers in this, immense heat in the middle of the day, standing up there for an hour exposed to the sun. What a brutal challenge.
Yeah. And look, we do brutal ones. I feel like ours are more brutal. The standing on that pole, on those tiny little poles, rather than like a little slat of wood that you see in the American ones. I mean, I was thinking about that yesterday I watched it last night. And I was like, if I ever did get on, I would step off that. Like, I really want to last with a lot of things, but I don't think my feet would enjoy that. And I would be done. Like, that looks like hell.
So I actually thought the opposite. And I compared to US Survivor, you normally have this, in the similar challenge in the US, you have a plank of wood, and then you gradually step down each notch, and it gets thinner and thinner, and you have to put one foot in front of the other. I think that would almost be harder than standing on those poles. But I mean, as we were saying, it is brutal, brutal regardless to see that challenge. It's Jonathan as well saying, imagine if she dropped on the actual challenge, her poles were much higher.
And her box, that was really funny. I was like, wow, that was very, very funny.
Yeah, ALOLM. We could see the circular rune on the sole of Jesse's feet, and it's I have always wondered that. That's always been one of my bugbears of Survivor, and one of the things that's concerned me if I ever play is the toll it takes on your feet. It just it seems like the smallest thing to talk about, but
I'm a delicate
you know,
flower. I
on
can't do
the
that.
on
I've
the
never seen a hard day's
on the
work in my life.
on the challenge where you're grasping a pole and you have to dig your toes into those little notches. You know, I always I always look at them and yeah, just see the amount of torment you're going through with your feet. It's brutal. It's yeah, that's one of the things that always
Yeah,
I always think about. I always think, gosh, the pain you go through on your feet, especially having to
yeah.
stand up for
And
for 6 hours, 8 hours, it'd be brutal.
the challenge is a classic of US Survivor, but they stand on a block. They don't stand on the
Yeah.
two poles. They don't stand on those rods like we said before. Like it could impale Sam. It's
Yeah, the
it's ridiculous.
it on the topic of Australian Survivor endurance challenges, it's just reminded me now of the final immunity challenge from last season. Obviously, the one out of Wolf Creek,
Yeah,
where
the torture
Flick,
device.
yeah, the torture device. It's yeah, I mean, it was a great immunity challenge. Similar with the reward from episode 10, though, the first episode of the week. We were obviously clued in that both tribes will be going to tribal council. And again, Robin, you got to think here, okay, something's up. I'm sure Australian Survival would never do a double tribal council boot. There's always got to be
No.
one person to go home.
Yeah.
And as we learnt when we got to tribal council, something was up. Something was fishy.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And that look, I actually out of the three twists so far this season, I don't mind that one. That's my favorite one, to be
Yep.
honest. I don't
Yeah.
mind a fire making challenge. I'm a
Yeah,
big fan of
I
them.
absolutely agree. It's fair. You know, unlike last season's Redemption Rock, where we had Baden and Haley both voted out, and then it was a secret just return at a random point in the game. What was it, final
Yeah,
12, final 11?
yeah.
And there was no prior knowledge of it.
And
Yeah,
there's
I do think
also
it was a fair way to do it, and
yeah,
I will give Animal Shine props for that.
yeah, because like the other one you have the standard. What they were they holding onto the pole above the water again? It was, and so
Yeah,
Haley is much more equipped for that. Like it's slightly favored for those long time holding on endurance challenges. Those beastie challenge beast women are so like they destroy us every day. They are amazing at those challenges, and I'm very happy about it because Haley was definitely my favorite of the season, and I wanted her to win. But at the same time, there's that I feel like if you can't make fire, that's on you. There's no advantage other than the fact that you've just been lazy and haven't learned how to make fire.
mm,
And they both
yeah.
got it was really close. It was really close.
It was close. And before we get into that, we will discuss a little bit of the strategy behind the vote first up. Obviously, we had this factor where Sam Khan agreed to give Sam the necklace. Khan obviously has an idol in his pocket. What are your thoughts on that? Because obviously it is something that has backfired in the past. We've seen both Brandon Hans and Eric Reichenbach go home because of that, giving
Mhm.
up immunity. Obviously, Khan did have an idol. It wasn't necessarily a crucial, what was it, final five for both of them, I believe, in
Mhm.
Micronesia and South Pacific. Um,
One
but it did seem it was more of a camaraderie loyalty thing, as we were discussing at the top of the show.
It's obviously a bit different. One of my ultimate moves that I would love to do, which is pretty much what Khan did, except no one know I've got an idol, but I want people to vote for me.
Mhm.
I'm wanting to lure I'm
Yeah,
telling my
the
strategy right
Kelly
now.
Wentworth in Cambodia.
Yeah. I want to give
Nine
up my
votes.
immunity. Yeah. I want to give up my immunity necklace. So you vote for me, play my hidden idol. I would love that.
Mhm.
And so, but in this case, it wasn't that. Everyone knows Khan has an idol. This is just going back to Khan's beautifully strong social game. He's made up. He's given his word. He's putting some trust out there, and I. It's risky and it's bold. I think doing what he did is actually far better than going against his word. If he didn't strike that deal, because people get funny. People get funny
Yeah.
about that with the deals. You
Yeah,
told me you would.
Jonathan here saying, yeah, it was more like Jenna in the Amazon than, yeah, Brendan and Eric. And
Yeah.
that's absolutely right. It was more of a loyalty move.
Yeah.
I was scared of it at first, but obviously understanding that Khan knows his position within the game.
Yeah.
it's obviously a very bold move strategically, a great move socially, and it really does show how indebted he is to Sam in this game.
Yeah.
I got to give him props for such a ballsy move, and holding on to his idol as well.
Yeah. Strong move. I loved
Great,
it. Loved it.
great move on his part. And yeah, obviously the two names that are coming up, we obviously have Shay, KJ, and Mel are the three that
Mel.
are on the bottom at the Blood Tribe,
Mhm.
and at the Water Tribe. It's obviously Chrissy and Benny are the two on the chopping block. When it comes to the
Yeah.
votes, both Benny and it is Mel on
Mel.
the Blood Tribe who are both voted out. It is revealed by Jono, as we discussed, that they will go to fire making challenge. And Robin, as you mentioned, there such a tense fire making challenge. I really, really enjoyed it. It is
Oh, it's
probably
great.
I don't necessarily have a ranking of my favorite fire making challenges, and this might be a future video I'll do on my channel at some point.
Yeah.
Who
It's
knows? But
definitely a good one.
this was a very entertaining fire making challenge. So close.
I do want to back up just after this, but with this, what I really like is the cool, calm headed head of Mal in this
Mhm.
moment, because it is so close and they lose it and they get it back. And then you see the problem that sore loser element that you see Benny gets really upset when he loses something or he gets something wrong. And this was he does his Hail Mary of just chuck all the husk on and hope for God, because he can't keep that cool, calm focus in that moment from what we see. It's like, I'm just going all in. I'm going all in. I'm chucking everything on and hopefully it gets it. But Mel just sticks through it. She's got amazing coaching from her sister in the side. Melissa's just going, block the wind, build the sticks, build the TP. Ben isn't doing that. He's keeping it flat, and he's always just one step behind. And that's where you kind of, the only time we've got to see a bit of Mel and Michelle kind of go, well, they know their stuff about Survivor. I'm sure there's some stuff there that.
Yeah, Jonathan Gray as well. Fire making is so much better than that immunity consensus thing last season. Obviously,
Yeah.
referring to when Laura and Wei. Oh no, you're referring to the Danny vote there, where Danny got to vote out Baden. Either or, both twists were terrible.
Yeah,
And yeah,
yeah.
when there's two people on the chopping block, this was certainly,
Yeah.
as we said, the right
Was
right move to make.
was that the three people were the only people that were allowed to vote or something?
Yeah,
That was
I think
ridiculous. That sucked.
Jonathan, let us know which one you're referring to, but I think he might be referring to the one where Wei, Baden, and then the two members of the Bahrain tribe had. Yeah, okay, yeah, Laura versus Shannon, yep. Yeah, where Shannon went home and Wei had the deciding vote there,
Yeah.
and had to determine who went home. Yeah, a lot better
Yeah.
than that. It is a very fair way to have it, and yet, as you said, Mel, great job to win fire making. I was honestly
Yeah.
very scared that Benny would win, and I must admit, as much as I love Benny, I did give out a big yippee when Mel won.
You didn't say yippee.
Oh no, I did a little bit of an emphatic
No
booyah,
one.
like,
Yeah,
like
no one
a bit
says
of
yippee.
a bit of a Leighton Hewitt, come on. But
Yeah.
no, what a great win on Michelle's part. I'm really happy to see
Yeah,
it.
but it could have gone either way. Like, we're just like, it is a Hail Mary play, just going all in. But once that's gone, it's like you want that play to work. If it doesn't work, you're in trouble. So you kind of got to go all in. And that's all. He was that little bit behind, that little bit of panic set in. You know what? He wasn't far away just because hers started hitting it. These things change in seconds. So yeah, it was just the Hail Mary fell short for him and Benny goes home. But I wanted to back up to Shay here.
Mm-hmm.
So Shay wins immunity, right? And then she has that moment of, I'm in control, and wants to take the target on the two girls.
Yeah.
I find that so strange. Surely she could wrangle in the two girls on the bottom. She's on the bottom. Grab a Dave, who I think Dave's a number they could potentially sway.
Yeah.
Try and break up the boys here. There was a chance. There was a play here.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking from Shay's position, and as Jonathan said earlier, we don't know what the dynamics are here, and
Yeah.
hopefully once we hit the merge, it does become a lot clearer. I'm
Yeah.
not sure Shay had the relationships with the others, and I think maybe one of the main reasons why she didn't make a move is because she knew that obviously with Benny getting attention from the other tribe, her putting herself out there could potentially put an even bigger target on herself and Benny if he was saved as well. I think that may have been why Shea was a bit apprehensive. And also, again, it doesn't seem like she has too big a relationship with Mel and KJ.
Yeah, that's true. But it's just like when you're on the bottom, it doesn't matter if you have a personal relationship. You're all on the bottom. Yeah, hilarious. That would have been so funny. That would have been really funny. Like, would Ben just step down?
Funny or tragic? And this,
both.
Yeah,
that's where comedy comes from, doesn't it?
That's comedy does come from tragedy. That is right. Yes. But yeah, no. As Mark says, there. Imagine if Shea lost immunity and it was Ben versus Shea in the fire making challenge. That would have added another dynamic to the blood versus water twist.
So brutal.
Was it Geordie in the challenge who when Jesse went out and was struggling a little bit after stepping out of the individual immunity challenge, and Geordie said, "Blood's thicker than water, Jonathan."
Yeah.
As to his concern regarding his brother. Yeah, it's. I am sure the promos would have eaten that one up, and I'm sure we'd been spoiled if that was going to happen.
Yeah, we would have. We're always sport with everything there. That's the way we do Australian Survivor. Just don't watch ads. Don't watch ads and you're fine.
Yeah. And we are spoilt with some great characters on this season. I think that's certainly one of the benefits of Australian Survivor. But there are two characters who I would like to talk about right now because
let's get into it.
Let's get into this. We brought this up a couple of times throughout the season. I'm going to pop in the chat here now.
Just let's crazy.
Come up. Mel and Michelle, we need justice for Mel and Michelle justice. At this point in the season. Mel has received 0 confessionals from 12 episodes. Jenny Kay mentioned there. It is a record. It is a record for the most episodes in Australian Survivor where no one has received a confessional. In fact, the whole of Global Survivor, as far as I understand, at least in the English-speaking world. Why hasn't Mel received a confessional at this point in the game? I'm very disappointed by it. Michelle has received 1 confessional, and the reason why I gave out that yippee or that come on after Mel won that fire-making challenge is because I knew at that point Mel will get a confessional next week. And if she doesn't, end them all shine. I am coming and I'm burning down the building because, gosh, it just disappoints me so much that someone can make it all the way to the merge and they receive 0 airtime at all. And it's not just Mel and Michelle. It's David. David hasn't received a confessional since episode 4. I look back on last season. Gerald got nothing. Chelsea got nothing. Sam Shaw's on Australian Survivor Champions vs Contenders 2 got 0 confessionals. Jay on this season got 0 confessionals. Josh and Jordan, both of them, really aren't getting too much at all this season. It's just so disappointing to me that we get these characters who go out there for so long, put their lives on hold to be a part of this show, and they get nothing for it. It is, as Mark says, Mel has beaten Flick's record in All Stars. That's disgusting. I believe Gerald as well was drawing on that. Yeah, Jonathan Gray. Thank you to Jonathan.
Thank you,
Gray.
Jonathan. Thank you.
He is posting. Yeah, Jonathan is posting these confessional charts to Twitter, I believe. I also pulled it off of Reddit. So definitely, Jonathan, if you want to chuck your Twitter handle in the chat, definitely check him out because he's sharing these confessionals.
I will check him out.
Joseph Fetco as well saying, but that 1 confessional was fire. But Joseph, wouldn't it be great if we got more from Mel and Michelle and Josh and Jordan as well? I really would like to see some more from all these castaways and not just have a one-man show.
It's hard. I understand. I'm still here. I'm back. Have I gone?
You're back. Yep. I thought it was me that dropped out. Go on. Go. Speak your mind, Robin.
It's like, so I understand the element of making this show, but something that really bugs me that we do not need with Australian Survivor is the flashback. I don't need Croc walking out onto the stadium in his old school jersey, bouncing a ball around. I don't need Josh flicking switches on a pirate ship in his pilot plane ship. I've
Yeah.
only had one cider. I've only had one, I swear. I don't need that. We can take out. I get we're trying to get the characters. I get we're trying to get the feel, but we can remove the stuff shot before the show or after the show or
Mm.
all that. We can remove that and give a confessional to these people. I don't know. It's hard. It's yeah, because I sit there and go, why would they have cast them then? Surely they were interesting. Surely they had something to give in their audition, in their Skype interview, in the groups, in everything, all the stages, the what, 7 stages to get through to this show. Surely they
Yeah.
had something.
Yeah. ALOLM here saying Survivor wants to squeeze everything from every contestant, so more TV time. We may expect they're going out sooner. I would say that's correct to an extent, although I think Gerald went 7 episodes in a row up to his boot episode without getting a confessional. Of course, Sam and Jay as well, not getting a confessional at all. Marcus here, there's no excuse for the poor editing with 3 90-minute episodes a week. US Survivor could dream of at least one 90-minute show a week. Yeah,
Could we ever?
it does really disappoint me that we don't get these confessionals from all these players. It's Jono as well saying Hannah in Champions vs Contenders 2 and Flick got there first in episode 10. Yeah, it really baffles me as to why we aren't getting this tension from these characters. And yeah, please give Mel a confessional for next week. Please. Mel and Michelle, for that matter. Give them the rest of the confessionals for the rest of the season.
It's just hard. Like, you got to show. I don't know what they're saying. Like, what we're hearing from Harry, they spent 3 hours doing confessionals. There's got to be 5 freaking seconds. There's got to be something you can use to weave the story. There has to be.
Yeah, and from exit interviews and the like, we have, we obviously know that Mel and Michelle are both, in the votes. It seems like they're almost floaters at this stage, not really dictating the vote, which is fair enough. But I'd at least like something, especially with Sandra's blind side or whatever it may be with this swap, anything. We know that. We know these confessionals are floating out here somewhere, so why don't we get them? I'd love at
settle
least
for go.
Yeah, I'd love for each castaway, as a general rule, to get at least one confessional an episode, and I don't think that is too hard to ask. Jonathan Gray here saying, yeah, according to Sam and Sophie, the Sophie vote was instigated by Michelle.
Crazy.
Marcus here saying, yeah, unfortunately the show is catered to the casuals and think the casuals get confused, which quite frankly, after 7 seasons, they should understand the show now. And yeah, I agree that we discussed this last week, the little secret twin swap. I still don't really know who is who. But we do need something there, especially if Michelle is playing a big role in the game, and Mel as well. They both play big roles, whether that be in the Sandra or the Sophie vote.
I would settle. I would at least settle for, yeah, I've had a great day today from either of them. If that's all I got, at least they got something. Surely there's something out there. How do you think Tribal's going to go tonight? Or it could go either way. Sweet. That's enough. Just at least give them something like this. That's like it. I know I'm being ridiculous, but why can't you even give them that?
Yeah, Jonathan Gray, agrees here. I'd take getting a confessional once a week, and yeah, I agree. It would be nice.
Small players.
It would be nice to have something. I do want to bring up here, Jono. I saw on your Twitter you've posted something here, which shows.
What is this?
This is showing the episodes in which people have 0 confessionals. You can just look across the board with all the red zeros. So many castaways go so many episodes without confessionals. This is from Brains versus Brawn. And yeah, Gerald got 7 episodes in a row. Chelsea got, what's that? Is that 9 episodes in a row, plus another
Crazy.
2 without confessionals. It really is disappointing to me. And we won't harp on too much about the confessionals, but certainly for all the confessional counts and the like, Jono, go follow Jono on Twitter here.
Yeah,
he's doing a great job in terms of sharing those confessional counts.
We need people like you, Jono.
Yeah, thank you, Jono, for joining in on the chat and sharing those confessionals. It's been fantastic, and we're now entering the merge, Robin. It's scary. We're halfway through the season. And
Mm-hmm.
at this point in the game, there's 13 players remaining. We
Hey,
have
hey,
four.
hey. Hold on 2 seconds. You've got me blocking. Who am I? I better not be blocking like a Mel or Michelle in there, am I?
Like that's exactly who you're
Oh,
blocking.
you asshole!
Um,
You asshole! You're making me do that. I can't believe you
we
did that to me.
we have four pairs remaining in the game. Five singles at this point. The four pairs being Jesse and Geordie, Jordan and Josh, Mark and Sam, Mel and Michelle, and the five singles being Khan, Shay, Chrissy, David, and KJ. Robin, I know you obviously put Mark as your winner pick. Do you still stand by
Mm-hmm.
that?
I'm still going to stand by that. I am. Uh, I now have to replace Nina though, don't I? I'm actually really surprised Khan's still in, and I'm loving that he's still there with an idol.
Yeah, yeah,
I do think if I was Mark, I really like Geordie, but if I'm Mark, he doesn't have long to go once merge happens.
yeah.
I'll probably put Jesse. Maybe I'll put Jesse in as my alternate for Nina.
Yeah, and I'm still sticking with Shay purely. I do think she's getting a good edit, and come the merge, I think now that Benny's gone, she can step out of that shadow a little bit. We saw how
Yeah,
strong she is in the individual immunity challenges. But my question for you,
yeah.
Robin, is one pair who you think is going to go the furthest in the game, and let's say one single who is going to shake the game up. Now, I'll start here, and I'll just Mark and Sam. I think are the two with the most longevity in terms of the game.
Mm-hmm.
We saw with Mark obviously has an idol. Sam has some great social relationships. I can see those two going very very far in the game. And potentially bringing in, I could see them working with like a Jordan and a Josh, maybe bringing
Mm-hmm.
a Khan as well and a KJ, and maybe a Shay as well. Pick up all those loose ends and try and target the other pairs. Um, Either they can do that or they can work together with the other pairs in the game. Mark and Sam are going to be the pair I think are going to last the longest in the game. And in terms of the single, who I think can really shake things up at the moment, um, it's got to be Khan. Exactly
It's
right.
only Khan.
It's got to be Khan. Khan's an idol at this point, which is amazing to me. The fact that he's holding on to that, it shows so much bravery. To have his idol at this point in the game going into the merge, especially with it being a public idol, which he's had since
What?
episode 3, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say like
Episode
17
3
days or
after,
something.
yeah, episode 3 after Brianna went home. It has been such a long time that
Yeah.
he's held on to this idol. It's honestly great to see, and I think he does have the social relationship, especially with Sam, that he can go far in the game.
Yeah, because I actually thought he wasn't going to go far, only because thankfully Australian Survivor keep the opening song, which American Survivors ditched a long time ago, much to my disgust. His clip that they show was from episode 2, so
Yep.
I didn't think he had long to go, because I'm like, well, surely that's not the only thing he's got. If they go pretty early on, so maybe that's a bit of a red herring that Khan's going to win this thing. I don't know, but he can only be the only single to shake things up. Unfortunately, I don't think KJ has it in her. And just because we have such, this is probably going to give Shay such a good run here, because she is surrounded by a lot of physical players here. I mean, Sandra said it, the weak take out the strong. Who's the weak? KJ, Mel, Michelle, Chrissy.
Yeah.
Maybe Dave. Maybe a Khan, maybe, but I doubt it. Everyone else is a really physical threat here.
Yeah. Jonathan here. Khan had a merge buff on in one of the confessionals episode 4. How can you get that wrong? And you still can't give Mel and Michelle
That's brilliant.
a confessional. It's
I've got to pay more attention.
Beyond me, honestly, Jonathan. At this point, I think you should apply to Endemol Shine.
Or take my job. You should be here. I'm so bad at this. How did I not notice that?
But it's Marcus here. Agree with Riley, Mark and Sam, the couple to go far, and Shay will be the single due to being a challenge beast and probably the underdog. I do think Shay is someone who has a lot of longevity. I'm interested to see what Khan does with his idol. Alo Lem as well. I think he's in your camp. here, Robin. We agree. I think Mark has done extremely well. Alpha male with strategic and cool-headed. It's rare, and now with merge and an idol in hand, he looks strong for the former army man. Yeah, I think he's going to do great. Jonathan as well.
Yeah.
The Twins preseason promos, one of them was wearing a merge buff too. Yeah, you'd really think these things get ironed out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know,
gotta pay
I must
attention.
say, at this point in the game, Robin, what are your thoughts on the pre-merge from what we have seen? How does it stack up to previous seasons? And a second part of that question, other than Nina and Sandra, which one pre-merger would you like to see come back?
And I can't say Nina and Sandra.
Other than Nina and Sandra.
Okay. Who would I like to? You know what? I enjoyed Ben. I wouldn't mind seeing Ben come back. Who else did we lost pre-mergers worth talking about?
I'll go through a list.
Croc.
So...
Croc. I do like Croc. Croc's been really enjoyable for me.
Yeah, so we've obviously lost 11 players in the game.
And I can only remember Andy. 2. My God, I suck.
That's first boot was Andy.
Andy
Brianna
never wanted him back
was
to begin
the next
with.
to go. Kate, Andy's sister, she went third. Alex went fourth. He quit the game. Jay, obviously, no one would have known he left. He was the fifth voted out because he didn't even get a confessional. Sandra followed shortly after. Sophie as well was eliminated after she was swapped to another tribe. Then we had Amy, Nina, obviously medevaced, Croc, and Ben going. Jonathan Gray,
agree with Jonathan.
Amy and Croc. Amy was a great character.
Yeah, Amy was really awesome.
I'd love to see.
Really liked her.
I'd love to see Amy come back in the future. I mean, obviously, Khan is going to be the one that's preferred out of those two, I'd say, purely because of how big a character he is, and obviously he's made the merge at this point, and he's still got an idol in his pocket. But yeah, I have really enjoyed this pre-merge. I will say I haven't enjoyed it as much as some previous seasons. I would say Brains versus Brawn, certainly, probably because that's the most recent in my mind. I'm not sure I could compare it to 2016, 2017, 18, 19, 20 right now. But certainly compared to Brains versus Brawn, I think it wasn't as good. And maybe that's because we didn't get to see, the Simon Blind side and all those big moves.
Yeah.
But certainly there has been a lot of content, and I'm sure it's going to continue in the merge.
Yeah, I would agree. I think for me, like, I've really enjoyed it, but if you haven't known already, I forget everything. But I would say I really liked pre-merge of Champs vs Contenders 2 with Dave playing such a great game before he iced off. He came out really strong and cool. I'm incorrect again. Thank you, Jonathan. Take my job. I will slowly. I like Dave a lot, and I thought he played a great game, and then he eased off. So I liked watching his game in that second Champions vs Contenders.
You know what? I might have to agree with you here, Robin, and because the dynamic between Sean and David on Champions vs Contenders 2, I really enjoyed that. I would say the pre-swap with the whole. Who was it? It was Nova and Susie Maroney and Anastasia and Stephen Bradbury.
Yeah,
it was a bit non-eventful, but the post-swap in Champions vs Contenders 2, purely for that beef
Bradbury
between
one, wasn't he?
Between David, he was season 4.
But Bradbury was Champs vs Contenders 1, yeah.
Champions vs Contenders 2. Yeah, the Olympian on Champions vs Contenders 1 was Lydia, and
I loved her. She was great.
They had Lydia and Shane, and Champions vs Contenders 2 had Nova and Stephen Bradbury as the 2 Olympians. Ben Farley, I think the amount of twist pre-merge has put me off, but I might feel different about it in a year. Yeah, I think with Australian Survivor, it's hard really to get your head around it. It does take time to become accustomed to, and it does peeve me off a lot. But I've gotten used to it at this point. Jenny K, bringing up the same point as Jonathan here. The editing is so bad. AU literally shows confessionals clearly taken from way in the future, early on in the season, spoiling by merge buffs are worn or male players with lots of facial hair growth.
I need to pay attention.
Yeah,
I do. This is so bad. Wow.
Yeah, it's Look, we love to shit on Australian Survivor. I will admit that, but the show we've got, I think it's great, and we love to talk poorly of it, but the fact we get 24 entertaining castaways and we get confessionals from 21 of them,
Hmm.
it really is great. And I think this season, there's obviously plenty more to come.
Hmm.
I'm really excited to see how players like Khan and Chrissy and Shay go post merge, Geordie and Jesse as well. As we wrap things up, though, Robin, I'm going to put you on the spot again.
Great. I've
Let's get some
embarrassed
predictions
myself
going.
enough.
Let's get some predictions going, and guys in the comments sound off as well who you think will be the merge boot. Comment, guys, who you think will be the merge boot. Robin, have you got anyone on your mind who the merge
Merge
boot will
boot.
be?
Do they play it safe and go a KJ maybe?
You know what? I wasn't thinking a KJ, but you could be on the money there. I almost think a Jesse or a Geordie could go home as the
I
merge
would go
boot.
for Geordie. I would 100% go for Geordie if I was like, because I know Mark has a reason. Because I'm playing from Mark's perspective, obviously, that's what I'm doing. I would be going for Geordie, but I think they might just play it safe. And I think I don't know, do they go a single? Do they try and start to separate the pairs?
Yeah.
You
All
know,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Ben Farley here. I hope it isn't a pick off for the singles. And I agree. And, I would also say I hope it doesn't go the opposite way and you have, maybe one pair that teams up with the singles and they pick off the rest of the pairs. I
Eventually,
don't want to see it. Yeah, eventually it's going to happen, but I don't want to see
yeah,
another Otis and Vetus. I don't want to see too much focus on it. I just want some
yeah.
fun gameplay.
Yeah, look, I really don't want to see one of the twins go just yet, just because I really want them to have a chance to
Yeah,
take it away. So, like, I would have said one of the twins. Geordie would be my strategic move to get rid of. But who knows? I feel like just KJ might be collateral
yeah.
damage in a
I
safe vote to
think
put.
I think I'm going to agree with Jesse here. She agrees with you in terms of the KJ vote. I think Jesse is the one to go purely because I think Geordie has the better relationships with Mark, namely,
Mm,
and he might not want to throw him under the bus just yet. But with Jesse especially, I can see someone like a Shay going against him, maybe teaming up with maybe the twins team up with Shay
yeah,
and they work together to take out Jesse. Marcus saying Jesse
Jesse.
as well. Liam Parsons in the chat. I was really enjoying the first few weeks, but I feel that the last few episodes have lost steam since Sandra left. Can't blame Tan for squeezing the juice out of her. I'm hopeful for the merge though. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's slowed down too much because I think it has picked up with this whole Benny, Croc, Chrissy drama.
Hmm.
But I do understand what Liam is saying there.
Yeah,
It
it's a
has lost a little
thing.
bit.
It's one of those things. Like, Sandra is coming from the golden age of the American Survivor as well. Because nowadays, I mean, we rag on Australian here and there, but even I sit there and every day I sit there and go, I want more from an American Survivor. Like,
Yeah,
I actually had the thought yesterday there could come a time where, for me, I have never missed a season, even though I sound like I know absolutely nothing. I've been watching it from day one, and I'm like, I actually prefer Australian Survivor nowadays, even though the gameplay isn't as strategic, or we don't see the strategic gameplay. The twists, yeah, they're standard Australian twists, but they're not as terrible as the American stuff's they're throwing in there. So I don't know. I'm okay with it. I'd kind of prefer Australia and South Africa at the moment to America. America's
mm,
like losing a lot of pace for me. Which is
yeah,
so, it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart so much that I have to say that and vocalize it on a live chat to
yeah.
12 people.
That's right. Yeah, ALOLM, someone who comes out good at the tasks and loses might go as Australian Survivor usually vote. Yeah, I could see that happening. Maybe like a Lydia Lassala from Champions vs Contenders one. I do think that could be a Jesse or a Geordie who comes out strong in the challenges and ultimately gets targeted.
Hmm.
Jonathan Gray as well, our resident stats man. Ben was eliminated on the same day as Ricard on 41.
Yeah,
It's
crazy.
it's crazy the discrepancy between Australian Survivor and US Survivor, but you don't really
US
feel it.
Survivor is a weekend. It's a weekend away now. It's like, let's go for
Yeah,
4 days, and that's the game. It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
And speaking of 2 days, Jenny K here. Here it's only on Sunday and Monday next week. Tuesdays are gone. Any reason why they dropped a day?
They
I'm
do
not
it all
too
year. They
sure.
always do it.
Um, Yeah, Marcus here saying stretching out the content so it doesn't finish early. Yeah, I know
And
MasterChef
then
is up
yeah,
after
they pick up straight into MasterChef.
yeah. Julie Goodwin as well coming back in Australian on MasterChef Australia. Not that that's related, but one of my favorite MasterChef contestants. But yeah, no, it's going back to 2 episodes a week. But that certainly won't stop us from recapping the show. We will continue to recap throughout the coming
Ah,
weeks.
I thought we were done once we go to 2
No,
episodes.
no,
That's my job's finished.
unfortunately, unlike US Survivor, we are on day 24, but there still seems to be another 24 days to go. So this is 2 whole recards worth of a season. We will be back next week to recap it all. Not sure yet whether we will have a guest, but I'll certainly let you guys know about that if that does happen. Certainly, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel Reality Pop for podcasts just like this. Obviously, we've got Australian Survivor on now, but also US Survivor coming around the corner as well. And with the channel, we will be doing some exciting stuff in the lead up to the season. If you guys caught our Survivor 41 kickoff show last year, we will be having a similar thing for Survivor 42, myself, the Survivor buffs, Adam and Gideon, they'll be there. We might even have some special US Survivor guests on the show as well. Peridium and Idle Out, 2 fellow Survivor YouTubers, will be joining as well for that one. So certainly keep an eye out for that in the lead up to Survivor 42. And as we said, Robin will be back next week. If you do want to support the channel, there is a membership button down below. Obviously, subscriptions and likes, what gets us out there. If you want to support us, there is membership. Shout out to Barry Dean and the Hangout Room for joining us as members. We really appreciate all the support. And thank you guys as always. Great to see some familiar names. Jenny K, Alo Lem, Marcus Evans, always in the chat. Jonathan Gray, thank you so much for all your stats throughout the show. We really appreciate it. Liam as well, Joseph. I'm probably missing Ben as well. Hopefully I don't miss anyone there. Dangan, Schmong. Really appreciate all you guys commenting along. ALOLM, you guys have one of the best jobs reviewing our favorite TV shows and enjoying. Good luck to you both. Thank you, ALOLM.
It's a bit of a passion.
We love chatting about Australian Survivor, obviously, and it's always great as well, chatting with you guys and hearing your guys' thoughts as well.
For sure.
Maybe you're not a fan of Australian Survivor, not giving Mel and Michelle confessionals like me, or maybe you have different opinions. It's always fun to debate Australian Survivor, and that's one of the great things we do here. So certainly next week, as we enter the merge, we will have even more content right here on Reality Pop. So stay tuned for that one.
And you know what, Riley? We did all right without a guest today. We did all right. You know what?
Yeah.
We can hold this show on our shoulders. We did all right.
That's, you know what? And neither of us fainted despite the hour plus of podcasting. We both hung in there. But no, it has been great to discuss episodes 10 to 12 with you guys. As we said, halfway through the season, and a couple more weeks to come of Australian Survivor. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much again for watching, and we'll see you guys later. Adios, mates.
See you guys. And this